It's time for the news at dusk on African Free Press Television. I am Chika Anyang with the news update. The federal government has maintained that the proposed increase in electricity tariff would commence from October. Speaking at the Powering African Nigerian Conference in Abuja, Godknows Igali, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Power, further stated that the federal government is committed to improving the fortunes of the power sector and also provide an enabling environment for investors in the sector. According to him, government will continue to improve whatever needs to be enhanced in the power sector to enable investors in the sector do business profitably. He also disclosed that the power sector remains one of the best places to invest in because the sector pays for itself and the challenges of gas supply has been significantly addressed. Benue State government has appealed to those residing by the bank of the river Niger to relocate immediately due to the rapid increase in the water level of the river and the prospect of flooding in parts of the state. Commissioner for Water Resources and Environment, Nick Wande, who made the appeal yesterday in Makurdi, said the directive became necessary in view of the threat the increased water level poses to the safety of those living by the river bank. Commissioner further disclosed that the state government on its part has been working round the clock to ensure the safety of lives and properties of the people in the event of any permanent heavy downpour and overflow of the river. Nigerians are top on the list of nominees for the 2015 CNN Multi-Choice African Journalist Awards. A list released by the independent judging panel revealed there were 5 Nigerians among the nominees from the year's award. John Ube, Managing Director of Multi-Choice Nigeria, urged Nigerian journalists to be objective in their reporting, stating that objectivity promotes excellence in journalism. Ube disclosing that the competition received entries from 39 countries across the continent, including French and Portuguese-speaking Africa, had 31 finalists from 15 countries. Ube said Multi-Choice is delighted to be associated with the prestigious awards. UN Regional Humanitarian Coordinator for African Sahel region said Nigerian refugees in Cameroon are now under threat for lack of food, water and possible outbreak of deadly epidemics. He disclosed this today in New York after a week-long visit in Yaoundé, Cameroon and the Far North region to assess mounting humanitarian impact of the crisis in neighboring northeast Nigeria and the Lake Chad Basin. In his report, Laser stated further that the recurrent conflict, erratic weather patterns, epidemics and other shocks continue to weaken the reliance of households across the region, still suffering. UN official noted that Cameroon's Far North region hosted more than 200,000 forced migrants. He said this included 80,000 internally displaced persons and over 57,000 Nigerian refugees who fled the violence and settled either in the Meanwhile refugee camp or with local communities across border areas. Russian President Vladimir Putin today pledged to continue military support for Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad after Washington raised alarm over an alleged military build-up by Moscow in the war-torn country. At a regional security conference in ex-Soviet Tajikistan, Putin said Russia supports the government of Syria in its fight against terrorist aggression, and will go on providing it with all necessary military assistance. A U.S. military official told reporters on Monday that Russia has sent artillery units and 7 tanks to a Syrian air base as part of moves to boost its military presence there. The alleged increase of Russian hardware in Syria has caused concerns in the West about the implication of Moscow's military helping its longtime ally, Assad. Moscow has been pushing for a border coalition of forces to take on IS, but key regional players such as Saudi Arabia have ruled out fighting alongside Assad. At least 22 migrants trying to reach Greece by boat, including 11 women and 4 children, drowned today when their vessel sank off Turkey's southeast coast. There has been a dramatic spike in the numbers of migrants and refugees setting out from Turkey in the risky boats for the European Union. Most are fleeing conflicts and misery in Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Africa. Turkish authorities says they have rescued over 42,000 migrants from troubled boats since the beginning of the year. And that's the news at dusk on African Free Press Television. For more, do visit www.africanfreepress.com, follow at African Free Press on Twitter, and like African Free Press on Facebook. I am Chika Anyanwu. Good evening.